I'm John Langlois, and welcome to People, Places, and Things. Join me this half hour as we dedicate the entire program to the Filipino American National Historical Society. We're going to be talking to the people who work to promote and preserve that rich culture and history, and it's going to be done across the nation in America and closer to home here in Hampton Roads. And with me now are two reps of the national organization, Dorothy Cordova and her husband Fred. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dorothy, what inspired you to form this organization? What was the genesis of the organization?
It came about in a roundabout way. In 1979, I wrote a proposal to the National Endowment for the Humanities to do a project on the two most under-researched Asian groups, Filipinos and Koreans. And at the conclusion of the project, my project director in D.C. called and said, what will you do with the 3,000 photographs, the 200 oral histories, and all the various and sundry other materials we collected? And I said, well, we thought about starting a historical society, and this was in 1982. So that was the beginning of the concept of the historical society.
Okay, so from the research, you found there was a need. Now, what's the mission of the Historical Society?
It's actually to collect and disseminate information about the experience of Filipinos in the United States and a very unique history, different from any of the other Asian Americans.
Now, what are some of the things that you found most interesting and most touching to you on a personal level?
Well, coming from the West Coast, I had a whole West Coast experience, but having to do a national project, I started to find out different kinds of things. For example, the Filipinos did a variety of things. There were the pensionados who came as students, and we had the student experience, those working in the fields in Alaska, the U.S. Navy, the wives who came over, Hawaii. It was just so, it was very textured. And so what happened was, one of the products besides the Historical Society and the collection that we share, which is very different because we share everything we have with anybody who will call us, is the production of the book. At the tail end of the project, a publisher came up to me and said, could you do a book? And at that time we were so busy, and we said, well, okay, we'll do it, but it was just with the Filipino part. And the person who was anointed to do the book was my husband. And he used the research that we had. We had a whole team, including a local person. Edwina Lapa was interning at my office, and she helped on the research part of the book.
Now, your husband happens to be with us, Fred.
Yes.
I wanted to jump in here. What are the things
The
that...
Edwina Lapa is now Edwina Lapa Bergano.
Oh, well, thank you for
Yes.
making that point.
Yes.
That'll be, that's a good point for our viewers. Now, Fred, what was your interest in this? What drew you to this project, besides obviously the involvement of your wife?
I got railroaded into the job.
Okay.
Well, basically what I did, we had a team of scholars as well as authors who in their own right were very, very busy. And I, being a broken down journalist, ended up with the project. Basically, though, we've really been doing research ever since college days. We were just a bunch of pack rats, never threw anything away. And we're totally interested in our communities, in our people, and we found very, very much the dearth, the poverty of not knowing our own history. Now, when you figure that our history goes back as early as 1587, settlement here in this country in 1763, that's a lot of time, and as well as many of the stereotypical myths that were being perpetuated in Asian American studies throughout our colleges and our universities, something certainly had to be done to set the record straight.
Now, what are some of those positive stereotypes that you might maybe that have been brought out in the book?
The positive truths at this particular point is that we were here, we were the first among the Asian Pacific American ethnics to settle permanently in this country. That we had families, that we had a very, very thriving community, that not all of our people ended up being illiterate, as a lot of people thought they may have been. These were degreed people, educated, but during the times when America did not yet have our social revolution, and being that they were non-whites, certainly faced all of the oppression that minorities faced. So there were all these many, many things, but through it all, as Dorothy has said, we did produce a very textured community and a very exciting very exciting group of people.
Let me ask you now, the book has been published. What has the response been, Dorothy? Has it been positive?
Well, it was really interesting because the Filipino community accepted it. Though there was some question about the title. What makes you think we were forgotten? I said, okay, we were overlooked or dismissed. You know, we had a choice. And it's starting to pick up. Asian American Studies programs, especially on the West Coast, are picking it up as the text for their Filipino American class, or they use it as reference for the Asian American classes. We know that there are different things. It stops at 1965, just briefly touches it. The intent of the book was for it to continue to be just the base for other people to pick up the ball and run with it. So far, not too many people have done that. And we're hoping through our historical society, that's precisely, we're nurturing people who will continue on to do writings, to continue on from there.
Right, now the Filipino American National Historical Society is prevalent. How many chapters do you have nationwide?
16 chapters throughout the country, as far away as New England, New York, and certainly our most thriving one on this side of the nation is our Hampton Roads chapter. We have at least 6 in California, and our very, very first was in Portland, Oregon.
Right, so the response has been very well received nationwide.
Yes, plus the uncharted territory, what we call Midwest America. And there, the Midwest chapter alone covers 8 states.
Now I mean, that's very impressive, and I know one of the things you can tell you're on a roll because after the book follows the movie. And Fred, you've been involved with the video, and we have a video that is going to be premiered in our Hampton Roads area, which was premiered recently. Fred, what was your involvement with that?
It basically started as a project with October being declared now nationally as Filipino American History Month. And we wanted to do some television promos, 30-second spots, 60-second spots. What eventually evolved certainly was this 54-minute broadcast quality video documentary. And we're certainly very, very proud of that because, as anything else, visuals is really the best educational piece.
Yes, seeing is believing. Now, Dorothy, what's the name of the video and why did you think it was important?
It was important, again, it was another vehicle to show the history. It's actually called Filipino Americans Discovering Their Past for Their Future. And Fred's showing me the title because once again, we went through a lot of different titles.
We argued over it.
We argue constantly about what should go in. And but it's good. It's good, healthy debate. And one thing I'd like to throw in is these things, the Historical Society, it will be having its 6th National Convention in San Francisco. And the thing that's interesting about that is we're also developing a lot of researchers, people either from academia to community research.
A lot of renewed interest.
Right.
And you mentioned the video, and our viewers are going to get a chance to take a look at that video if they stay with us with People, Places, and Things. We'll be right back. Welcome back to People, Places, and Things. I'm John Langlois, and if you're just joining us, we're dedicating our entire program today to the Filipino American National Historical Society. And earlier we spoke to some of the national representatives and directors, and now we're going to bring it a little closer to home. We have with us the local chairperson and founder, Dr. Al Bergano, with the organization, and also Ferdie Tolentino, who is a member of our Virginia Beach Public School Board. Ferdie, Al, welcome.
Glad to be here, John.
Well, we're glad to have you. Now, this is exciting because the national movement for the promotion and the preservation of Filipino American history and culture has moved rather rapidly. Locally, how has the response been?
Oh, it's been tremendous, John. Through the event, I was just surprised as far as how many people showed up to hear our story. And thank you for coming out, and it was great.
Well, we've got some great footage that we're going to be sharing with our viewers later on in the program. Why do you think there was an important need for the local chapter to be founded?
Well, materials on Filipino American history is just about nil. And in order to educate ourselves as not just being Filipino Americans, would give us a sense of that we are Americans too. But in order for us to become more American, we have to become a little bit more knowledgeable as far as our experiences of our ancestors that have set foot in this country for over 400 years.
Now that celebration of the Filipino American culture has been very, very well preserved locally, but now we're documenting, obviously, through the book and the video. Ferdie, are the school systems going to be involved in this goal as well?
Well, yeah, the Virginia Beach Public Schools got involved and actually co-sponsored the program that happened on May 26. The population in our school system, the majority of our Asian American students are Filipino Americans because of the Navy and the health field. So there has been a need to research the history of the Filipino Americans here, and the public schools are willing to research that.
Now the Filipino American community here is a large community. Any idea of how many members or how many families are here?
There's approximately 40,000 Filipino Americans in Hampton Roads. We are probably the largest concentration on the entire East Coast.
Really?
Yes.
That's very impressive, and we saw proof of that the other night when we had the premiere of the video, which was dedicated the other night at one of our local schools, and I was wondering if we could just cut away for a minute and check out some of the footage of the opening night. Let's go ahead and let our viewers take a look as we enjoy a highlight from the premiere of the video.
The first professional production of comprehensive history of the Filipino American experience here in the United States of America ever made. For years, there was nothing. No published books or materials. I found nothing in our libraries, our bookstores, and our schools. Nothing on Filipino American history.
If we do not take the time and effort to write Filipino American history, how can we expect anybody else to write our history? Before we can begin to take pride in being Filipino American, we have to know first Filipino American history. Before we can be incorporated into American history books and American history classes, we have to know first Filipino American history. The three most indispensable factors to remind or reinforce in the minds of all Americans that we are Americans too is history, history, history.
This film, the way it was presented and showed the Philippine culture and the history, was a very uplifting one. I came away having a lot of positive, warm feelings about a culture that I probably knew very little about when one looks back over what's been contributed to the United States. And the nice thing about it that I saw and I heard was the undergirding theme that the family is one of the cultural central figures for the entire Filipino community.
Take a pencil and a pen, a piece of paper, tape recorder, and begin to do the family history. Because you can go through Asian American studies, multicultural education, and know about all of the things even that we have here. But if you don't know your family, you are still poor.
Well, I thought it was very informative. I thought it had a lot of treasures to which I think my children should be known to open, especially if it's about their father and my father, their grandfather. And when they had a picture of people moving from the Philippines to the United States through boat, it reminded me of my father all over again and how he traveled. But most importantly, I thought of the courage that these people went through and the heartache that they went through in leaving their own families.
Our community needs bright minds, but not only bright minds, the commitment and the continuance of uplifting us as Filipino Americans. And we do it not because we just want to preserve that which is Pinoy, but if we love this country, and if we are truly Americans, it is to uplift this country, which I believe is still the best nation in the world.
Well, that was very impressive. The highlights of the premiere party for the video, very good turnout.
Yes, it was. We mailed out about 1,300 invitations, and we had over 500 people that showed up, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the people enjoyed it.
Now, a lot of the response was very favorable. A lot of people were saying how they enjoyed the fact that it was so positive, and your organization, the local chapter of the Filipino American Historical Society, did so much to really make this a successful event. What do you attribute this success to?
Well, one of the things is that the video stops in 1965. In Hampton Roads, in 1965 was when a lot of the population started to develop here. And because of that, it stopped in 1965. The video is going to inspire a lot of the students, hopefully, to pick up the ball and let's get the history in Hampton Roads.
Now, speaking of students, we go back to our school board member, Ferdie. Ferdie, what did it mean to you as a Filipino American?
Well, being the first Filipino American and the youngest member on the school board, I was very happy to see that there were a lot of young kids there, especially Filipino Americans there, because we really want to focus on that generation, because they're the one, like Alan said, that are going to pick up the ball and run with it. But you know, the movie itself was very professionally done. I was very when I first viewed the movie, I even learned something from it, and I was very happy that the Virginia Beach school system helped sponsor it.
So, Al, what is the title of the video?
Filipino Americans Discovering Their Past for the Future.
And the future looks bright. Let's go ahead and cut away to get some video highlights of the premiere of the video at the Landstown Middle School in Virginia Beach.
And so it is important to teach them history, from whence they came, so they can understand the things that are happening today and how they can be able to survive as individuals tomorrow. It's also important in that as individuals, as Filipino Americans, that we give something to this country. America has much to be able to benefit from that which we as Filipino Americans have.
The video was very impressive. Now, that was just a short segment of the video. Ferdie, what did it mean to you when you saw the video that night?
Well, it really inspired me to see that the Filipino American community responded very well with the good attendance, but as well as the other communities, the school system, the administrators. We had local officials come out there, city councilmen, delegates. So I was very impressed with the turnout, and I'm very pleased to see that the community was very well behind our project.
Well, I tell you, you've done a great job, the local chapter of the Filipino American Historical Society, and we'll be right back with People, Places, and Things with more on what's happening in Hampton Roads. Welcome back to People, Places, and Things. I'm John Langlois, and as you know, we're dedicating the entire half-hour program to the Filipino American National Historical Society. And we've spoken with some of the reps of the national organization, and joining us now are two members of the local chapter who are very proud of their affiliation, correct?
That's correct.
We have Sylvia Strickland and Edward DeGia with us. Sylvia, tell us what the organization means to you.
FANHS has been a great inspiration for me. Being one of the oldest second generations in this area, I have kind of found myself lost, not fitting in with the first generations, not fitting in with the younger second generations. So they've been a great inspiration for me.
Now, when you say the name FANHS, you're referring to?
Filipino American National Historical Society.
Now, the organization has been very well received in the area. What do you attribute that interest in?
I think because, well, the large concentration of Filipinos in the second generations, there, I would imagine that probably half of the population of the Filipinos are now second generations, and we're looking for our past, our culture, where we came from.
And the organization serves that purpose?
Absolutely.
Now, Edward, why are you involved with the organization?
Well, you see, it's a little long story. It happened in the fall where I met Dr. Bragano. It was during an Asian conference held at the William & Mary. And he spoke, and when I left the meeting, his lecture, I was kind of confused about actually who I was. You know, was I Filipino? Was I American? Being on both sides, you know, I'm walking on a fine line. And until I went back to Old Dominion University, I saw Dr. Bragano talking with the other students there. So I went to go chat with him, and we talked a little bit, and after that, he had encouraged me to help out with this project, so I was more than happy to do so.
Do you find that your peers feel the same way you do, Edward?
Yeah, I'd say yes, but initially perhaps not. You have to understand that you know, a lot of these kids, they really don't know their roots. You know, their parents are teaching them one thing, and they're growing up in a different world. I think, however, if they do see this videotape, that they'll find a little bit about the other Filipino Americans that lived here before they did, and perhaps learn from them.
Now, the video you're talking about is Filipino Americans discovering their past for their future.
Correct.
Actually, for the future.
For the future.
And we talked earlier about the future being very bright. Sylvia, how do you assess that now?
The future is being bright. Growing up, like I said, here back 30 years ago, I couldn't even get married here legally in the state, and now we are representatives of in the city government. I view it very bright.
So quite a lot of progress.
Yes.
Now, the video is the main reason we're here today, the premiere party, and the video is 1 hour in length. It's very, very impressive, professionally produced, and it's very moving. It really touches on the Filipino American experience up to the mid-1960s, I believe. Mm-hmm. Were you moved when you saw the video?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the response of some of the young people I saw, it was almost like a Filipino pep rally. I mean, when they left, they were excited about being Filipino. I think for the first time, you get a sense of belonging to American history.
And the history is so rich and so interesting to non-Filipinos alike. Edward, what was your first feeling after you saw the entire video?
Well, I was in awe to notice something, that at least there was a resource, that there was information out there for my peers to see. You know, to tell you the truth, there was really nothing out there for us to know. You know, you just grow up as the American style with parents teaching you maybe Filipino values. So by watching this tape and just seeing the history that they were involved in, they did go through the oppression and other things that other Americans did, you know, lets you know that, you know, you are American too.
Well, let's get the reaction of some of the other folks who attended the premiere of the video. We know that you guys were impressed. Well, let's take a look at what some other people are saying about the video.
I believe that this film on Filipino American history is important because, especially for the youths in this area, we have no idea. We have been desensitized, to borrow a phrase from Dr. Bragano, and we need to know that there is a history here, that we have been here for more than 100 years or 200 years. It's important that we know that we have a heritage here in this country.
The film is important to me because my role as an educator. I think it is critical for us to know about our students and their backgrounds so that we can more appropriately help them learn about themselves and their past, their culture, their background, self-appreciation.
This film has a lot of meaning to me. I married a Filipina. My children are of Filipino ancestry. There are a lot of books in the libraries where my children can learn about their European ancestors, but there are no books in the library, or very few, in which they can learn anything about their Filipino ancestors.
Filipino Americans discovering their past for the future. And that's very, very impressive. The response, again, has been overwhelmingly favorable. People are moved by the video. And I guess it's also received some other awards and recognitions as well, right, Sylvia?
Yes, it won the bronze for the Houston International Film Festival. And I think, how many entries did we have?
There were 4,800 entries. And, you know, to win third place, you know, to get the bronze medal, if it impressed the judges well enough, hopefully it can impress other viewers that might not have seen this video yet.
So the video, over 4,000 videos being reviewed, it came in with a bronze medal.
That's correct.
Very impressive. Well, FANHS is one of the sponsors of our program. They've done a remarkable job in this area. They have really capitalized in a very positive way on promoting the Filipino American experience here in Hampton Roads and across the country. Why should someone join?
Oh, I think somebody should join FANHS because we need to know our history, our culture, because that helps us understand the diversity of America, and that's what it's all about. It helps us become better Americans.
Well, celebrating differences is a part of the melting pot. And now, Edward, who can join? I mean, are there requirements?
No, I don't think there's any requirements at all. I mean, you know, it could be as old as you want or as young as you want. You know, it really doesn't matter. I think the only requirement is that if you're interested in learning about Filipino American history, join FANHS. If you're interested in teaching others or enlightening others about Filipino American history, join FANHS. I think that's the only two requirements that you're really going to need to join this group.
Well, I tell you, FANHS has done a remarkable job. Again, the video, Filipino Americans Discovering Their Past for the Future, very impressive. Sylvia, Edward, thank you for being with us. We'd also like to thank our other guests today on People, Places, and Things. We'll thank Ferdie Tolentino and Dr. Al Borgano, and of course the Cordova family, the Cordova family for their great input into this program. I'm John Langlois. On behalf of People, Places, and Things, we thank you for watching us as we celebrate the Filipino American National Historical Society. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.